Imagine you are standing in a room and someone questions your competence in front of everyone. The room falls silent. People turn to look at you. Your heart starts beating. You feel heat rising in your chest. Before you know it, you are already thinking of a response to defend yourself. Most people think this reaction is normal. They believe that getting angry away shows confidence, that responding quickly shows strength, and that staying quiet shows weakness. The ancient Stoics saw things differently. They knew that the person who can make you emotional can also control your decisions. The moment you let someone's behavior affect your emotions, you start to lose your freedom. This idea can be uncomfortable because we live in a world that rewards reactions. Every social media platform wants you to be outraged. Every disagreement becomes a show. Every emotional impulse is treated like it needs to be expressed away. Being calm is often mistaken for not caring, while being restrained is confused with being insecure. Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher and emperor who ruled an empire during war, plague and betrayal kept coming back to a different idea. He believed that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your decisions. It is not the events in your life that control you, how you interpret them. That changes everything. A mean comment is a sound until you decide to take it as an insult. A setback is a circumstance until you label it disaster. A moment of rejection is an experience until you turn it into proof that you are not good enough. The Stoics did not teach people to suppress their emotions. They taught people to master their emotions. They were not interested in becoming cold. They were interested in becoming free. Freedom starts when you stop giving everyone else control over your emotions. Today, we will look at 4 principles that explain why true strength is quiet, why being emotionally independent is rare, and why the calmest person in the room is often the most powerful. 1. The law of scarcity in human behavior. One thing that is not often discussed is that people value things more when they are not always available. This principle applies to everything. People value things more than common things. Attention means more when it is selective. Time is more precious when it is protected. Even opportunities are more important when they are limited. Many people do not apply this principle to their emotions. They make themselves available to every criticism, every disagreement, every insult, and every opinion. Their emotional state becomes a door that anyone can walk through. A stranger's comment can affect their confidence. A co-worker's tone can ruin their evening. An online disagreement can occupy their thoughts for days. Without realizing it, they have made their peace too accessible. The Stoics warned against this a time ago. They recognize that a person who reacts to everything will eventually be controlled by everything. Think about what happens when someone insults you. The insult only lasts a second. Many people keep thinking about it for hours, days, or even years. The event is quickly, but their mind keeps replaying it, letting it affect them long after it's over. In effect, they are giving someone else control over their emotions. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people's actions are their own and his decisions are his own. This created a boundary in his mind. It stopped events from taking over his thoughts. Modern therapy shows an idea. Thoughts are not facts, they are interpretations. When people learn to examine their thoughts of automatically believing them, they often suffer less emotionally. The problem is that our ego resists this process. Our ego wants to defend itself away. It wants recognition. It wants validation. It wants to prove that every perceived offense matters. Wisdom asks a different question. Does this deserve to affect my peace? Not every criticism deserves an emotional response. Not every disagreement deserves attention. Not every opinion deserves a reaction. When people start applying this principle, something unexpected happens. Their emotional energy becomes more valuable because it is not wasted on every disturbance. They become harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, harder to control. The world loses one of its ways to influence them. This is not about being emotionally distant. It is about being emotionally selective. Selectivity is one of the foundations of inner strength. 2. Sovereignty versus people-pleasing. Many people spend their lives trying to get approval without even realizing it. They change their behavior to meet expectations. They watch how others react. They analyze conversations repeatedly. They adjust themselves constantly to avoid criticism or gain acceptance. On the surface, this seems harmless. Deep down, it is a form of dependence. Their emotional stability depends on validation. Epictetus challenged this mindset directly. He was born into slavery before becoming a Stoic teacher, and he emphasized a simple distinction. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Our character is within our control. Our choices are within our control. Our responses are within our control. People's opinions are not. The problem starts when people prioritize the things. They neglect their character while obsessing over their reputation. They ignore self-respect while chasing approval. They sacrifice authenticity for acceptance. Eventually, they become strangers to themselves. True sovereignty starts when a person understands that their self-worth cannot be given by others. No amount of praise can make someone feel stable if they doubt themselves. Likewise, no criticism can truly hurt someone whose identity is based on their character, not opinion. This is why Stoicism emphasizes virtue much. The goal is not to look impressive. The goal is to become admirable through action. A person who bases their worth on applause will become emotionally fragile because applause is temporary. A person who bases their worth on integrity will develop a stable foundation. That foundation changes everything. The need to explain yourself decreases. The urge to win every argument weakens. The fear of misunderstanding loses power. Gradually, emotional dependence starts to dissolve. What emerges in its place is something than confidence. It is self-possession. Self-possession is where genuine freedom begins. 3. The power of the pause. Emotional mistakes happen in a very short time. Someone criticizes you. You make an assumption. You feel an emotion. You react. The whole thing can happen in seconds. Because it happens quickly, many people think their reaction was inevitable. Both Stoic philosophy and modern psychology say otherwise. There's a space between stimulus and response. The Stoics trained to expand that space. When Epictetus advised students to examine their thoughts before accepting them, he was describing a process that's similar to what psychologists call cognitive distancing, of immediately believing every thought you learn to observe it. This sounds simple. It is transformative. Imagine getting a message that feels dismissive. Your automatic interpretation might be, "They do not respect me." From that interpretation comes irritation. From irritation comes reaction. If you pause, another possibility appears. Maybe they are distracted. Maybe they misunderstood. Maybe the meaning you gave it is not accurate. The pause interrupts momentum. Neuroscience supports this principle. Strong emotional reactions are often driven by threat assessments in the brain. When people slow down, breathe deliberately, and think reflectively, impulsive reactions become dominant, and more measured responses become possible. The Stoics understood this reality long before brain scans existed. Seneca advised delaying anger because time weakens its intensity and restores judgment. He recognized that emotions often demand action precisely when immediate action is least wise. This is why powerful people are rarely impulsive. They do not confuse urgency with importance. They do not mistake intensity for truth. They do not assume every feeling deserves expression. Instead, they observe. They evaluate. They choose. That final word matters. Choose. Many people experience emotions as commands. The Stoics experience them as information. Anger might indicate that a boundary feels threatened. Fear might reveal uncertainty. Disappointment might expose expectations. Information is not instruction. A warning light on a dashboard provides information. It does not tell you to drive. Emotions work similarly. They deserve attention. They do not deserve authority. As this skill develops, conflict starts to look different. Insults lose power. Criticism becomes data than destruction. Failure becomes feedback than identity. Importantly, emotional triggers stop controlling behavior automatically. People often assume that discipline means becoming rigid. The opposite is true. Discipline creates flexibility because it allows you to respond intentionally or mechanically. Without a pause, people become predictable. Press the button and they react. Challenge their ego, they respond. Question their status, they become defensive. A person who has mastered the pause becomes difficult to manipulate because their reactions are no longer automatic. The chain between event and behavior has been broken. Where that chain breaks, freedom begins. 4. Understanding the shadow after learning emotional discipline, one important question remains. Why do certain comments affect us deeply? Why do some criticisms stay with us for a time, while others go away quickly? Why do some people have the power to upset us much? Carl Jung had an idea that works well with the philosophy of the Stoics. He said that when we have emotional reactions, it often shows us something about ourselves that we did not know. This hidden part of our personality is sometimes called the shadow. The shadow has all the things we do not like about ourselves, like our fears and insecurities, and the things we have not dealt with yet. When someone's behavior makes us react strongly, it is often because it touches something deep inside us. For example, when someone criticizes us, it can be very hurtful if we already doubt our abilities. If we really need people to like us to feel good about ourselves, then being rejected can be very hard to deal with. If we need others to recognize us to feel important, then being disrespected can be overwhelming. In these situations, what happens on the outside is part of the story. The real reason we are suffering is often something inside us. The Stoics thought about this in a way, but they came to a similar conclusion. They always encouraged us to look at ourselves. Marcus Aurelius spent years writing down his thoughts about his mind, trying to find his weaknesses before blaming others. He knew that to be really free, we need to be honest with ourselves, not to criticize ourselves, to understand ourselves. When we stop running from the things that make us uncomfortable, those things start to lose their power over us. When we admit we're insecure, we become less controlled by that insecurity. When we admit we are afraid, we become less dominated by that fear. When we recognize that we need others to like us, we can start to grow out of that need. This process is what Jung called integration. Of pretending our weaknesses do not exist, we bring them out into the open and work with them. This makes us more whole and stable. We need validation from others less and less. We are less afraid of what others think. We are less upset by criticism, not because others have changed, because we have dealt with our own vulnerabilities. This is a powerful thing. It is not about being in control of others, about understanding ourselves. 5. The world will keep testing us. People will misunderstand us. Some will criticize us unfairly. Others will take out their frustrations on us. The question is, will we let those things control how we feel inside? The Stoics believe that true power starts when we stop needing others to like us. It grows when we learn to stop and think before reacting. It gets stronger when we protect ourselves from conflicts. It matures when we face our own insecurities with honesty and courage. Real strength is not loud or showy. It does not need to be recognized all the time. It does not get defensive every time someone criticizes it. Instead, it is steady and calm. The person who is calm and in control is not always the powerful, but they have a kind of freedom that is hard to take away. This freedom is the heart of Stoicism. And in a world that is always trying to distract us and make us react, it may be one of the kinds of strength left. If you like this, you can. Keep learning. Every day is a chance to make our minds stronger, to see things clearly, and to cultivate the quiet power that comes from being in control of ourselves. When we have peace inside, the world cannot take it away from us.